because my session was planned earlier, the day before yesterday, but for some um, reasons I could not come. There were some urgent meetings. Okay, so I had to leave the house and I had to go outside. So and actually the traveling time cost the session. So yesterday I had a plan, but yesterday also we had a similar meeting at the Ministry of Education, so I couldn't come. Anyway, a warm good afternoon, everyone from Nepal, and also maybe colleagues from other parts of the world. Um, Greetings is per the timeline. Okay. So today I am not talking that much. I'll share some of my recent thoughts, and then we might engage in question answer. So this my presentation will not go beyond half an hour, and 30 minutes. That means 30 minutes, and then we might have some question answer session. Okay. Once again, thank you very much. This is part of our public engagement through Kathmandu University, School of Education, Department of STEAM Education. So, so let me begin with this is a poem. Friends from other parts of the world, you might also have poetry. This poetry is about, the title in Nepali is Natipnu Herakopela. That means don't pluck the birds. Okay, so that means this is a message. This is actually part of our Nepali curriculum, language curriculum. And one day, our language teacher, Nepali language teacher, came to us. So how can I teach this Natipnu Herakopila, or do not pluck the bird? That was a bit, that was a big ask initially. So you look into the poetry, and the poetry, there are several concepts and ideas. Of course, it is part of language arts curriculum. So reading, writing, listening, speaking, singing, you know, singing in a melodious form. These all include in language arts. Similarly, we might also engage students in arts and crafts. So they might be engaged in drawing, painting, etc., etc. Okay. Maths group, math teachers and Nepali language teachers or language teachers, they might collaborate. So they might count the words from the stanza and rhythm. So the pattern, they try to understand that pattern. And because there is a pattern, because there is, in one stanza, there is a particular number of words. So there might be a pattern. Similarly, in science, the Nepali teacher might collaborate with science teacher and, actually get into the mechanics of this flowering, the flowering process. So observe a flower plant, get to the flowering process. Similarly, engineering and technology, they might also design they might be engaged in designing an ideal garden that is safe for each bird to blossom. So how can they create raised bed, and how can they create the roof or whatever is needed? So it's a whole package. Although there is one particular poetry written in a kind of Nepali rhythm, in a particular meter and rhythm, but that can also be connected with host of um, other concepts, other subject matters. Likewise, I have also given this example. For example, this is a Nepali traditional mat. We call it sukul. And we can start, we can connect with several concepts and ideas. So students might start with pattern, they might engage in counting, and then they might also be challenged to design a better mat if they are asked to design this. So how can they change this pattern? Similarly, because the raw material comes from the paddy field, this is actually the hay that comes from rice, paddy field. So they might engage in those concepts. Similarly, they might write, because this is largely prepared or woven by female women in Nepali households. So this might raise a number of social issues as well. This might also flag gender issue, and students might also engage in writing stories, poetry, performing drama related to this artifact. So, so the first is the text, the lesson that has been kept in our curriculum that has been selected for, I think, grade 5, 6 students, and this can be used for probably for 6, 7 grade students. So we might also use several other artifacts in our local context, which can connect several concepts and ideas. So this is how we might start thinking about STEAM, if we talk about it. And STEAM is a way of engaging students in this way. Let's see the bigger picture. If we are to, because in STEAM, science is there. Science, we think, is not just a content, but it is a process. Because science, or if we talk about science, so it comes from our life worlds, from our everyday life world. If you look into scientific innovation and discovery, or invention and discovery, they actually come from our life world. They are the representation of our thrust or of our need for solving the problem. So then this gives rise to, and then we use our experience to solve those problems. And then we also revise our method in the process. Okay, how can we do it in a better way? And then we apply again. And in this way, we come up with a particular scientific method of problem solving. This is a historical process. This is happening in scientific community for centuries, okay, for since time immemorial. Even in modern times, this is the process. Okay, we engage in a particular, or we engage in scientific phenomenon, and we have particular experience of our engagement, and based on which we also revise our methods, and then that is applied again, and we reconstruct it. So this is a process. This goes on. That's how science improves. And in there are two major elements. One is the participatory element, the other is critical reflection element. So participatory element suggests that we do not just work inside the room, but we go out to the world and we participate with others. So this is the recent approach to science. This is the recent approach to learning. And the other is critical reflection. Critical reflections allows us to see the shortcomings in the process, see the shortcomings in the outcome, in the method. So this is how education and science, they go together. And democracy is also is also connected here, because democracy is about ethical, ethics of participation, or participation is very important in democracy. Otherwise, it won't be democratic process. As far as education is concerned, we are to bring the participatory framework. So that's how science, education, and democracy are connected. If we are to public good, that has to actually connect the process. And what is democratic process? It is about the participation. It is about the voice. It is about engaging in the truth, in the discourse of the truth. So this is how we see, from this perspective. So then what are the problems that we face as far as, transformation is concerned? We need to actually identify the root cause. What are the problems that our education system is facing? That's why we are creating a space, that's why we're advocating for STEAM education. So we might be, we might relate this with what is happening with our education system. Without referring to a particular event, situation, or a case, I would like to refer to some of these recent studies. So one is that, based on the studies, of national assessment of achievement, school, achievement in our schools, they suggest that they pinpoint that there is no satisfactory achievement. Similarly, UGC's report also suggests that higher education suffers also from lower achievements. I think the pass rate in bachelor level, I think it is around 41, 42%, which is very, very pathetic at higher education. Also in school education, the achievement level, although it is improving, but it is not satisfactory. It is almost below than 50%. If we look into science, technology, engineering, mathematics, of course, other educational experiences are also negative. But if we look into these areas, because we think that, these students who go to science, technology, engineering, mathematics, they are bright students, but also they grow through very, very negative learning experience. Similarly, there is a victim blaming attitude and also dissatisfaction at the receiving end and also disempowering beliefs, meaning that if students fail, then we blame them. And the dissatisfaction at the receiving ends, meaning that teachers, students, parents, they're highly dissatisfied. And also there are many disempowering beliefs that actually precluding us in our meaningful action. Likewise, the other problem is the business as usual attitude. We tend to think, our education system tend to think that, oh, this is not possible in Nepal. This is the destiny of Nepali students is rote memorization. The destiny of Nepali schools is failure. Destiny of Nepali teachers is something like this. So this kind of victim blame, business as usual attitude among the masses, and this also, and once we look into business as usual attitude, if we take anything from this perspective, then there is a lack of deep and meaningful engagement in any educational issues of significance. Then, as I'm actually arguing this for a number of years, there might be three modes of intervention. The first mode is the system is fine, people are bad, problem lies in individuals. Intervention two, system might be okay, but the process have to be changed. This is largely, the first is prescriptive approach. The expert comes from outside and he or she tries to solve the problem. Second is the expert might also come from outside, change the process. He or she might not look into individuals as such, but look into the process. Intervention three, but both intervention one and two, they do not look into the assumptions, beliefs, values that underpin the process or the individual's approach. Intervention three, the system, culture, process, and individual actors are to be engaged in the transformative process. That is activist approach. It's not like the external is responsible to change, the system is responsible. So in order to change in order to make the process change, we need to look into the root cause, what actually is not helping or not contributing to change. These are beliefs, these are our values, these are our assumptions, these are our habits of mind. So we need to, then intervention is multidimensional. It's not blaming individual. It's not just looking into the process, but also our assumptions, values, our ways of working. So we need to look into all these, it's more of multidimensional. So this intervention three, which I call, is more of activist approach. When we look into STEAM education, then for us is for public good. It's not for private good. It has to contribute to social change. If it has to contribute to social change, so it's not just for me or for Niroji or for any of us, but it is for all. So when we say STEAM education, then we can come up with a continuum. So one of which is the one end of the continuum is informing. That promotes sort of tailing pedagogy, and that is about definitions, facts, body of knowledge. our teaching right now, our educational process are largely defined by tailing pedagogy because of several reasons, not just because of curriculum, not just because of teacher, but because of our assumptions of what counts as education. Similarly, second is reforming, which we call collaborative pedagogy. So working on projects, maker spaces, so on and so forth. So we have not completely shifted to this direction, but we are eager to shift. Many of many teachers who work with us and not many teachers across the country, they would like to shift to this pedagogy, this educational approach. And also some of us also would like to shift, many of us, to this, the final one, which is actually public good pedagogy. That enables students, that enables us to ask questions, and also think of creating something. So, and then we look for science, for solutions and social transformation, not just as body of knowledge. So if we look into this way, then I think this is what public good is about. So what is the thriving space then? So for us, the thriving space, that is when we think of science or math or technology or solutions driven educational process, then the thriving space is not the first one. Disciplinary egocentrism is not a thriving space because knowledge is not kept within a discipline. Discipline can be a means, but cannot be an end. So probably we need to use disciplinary knowledge and skills which are limited, which are actually restrictive skills and knowledge, but we need to grow out of this discipline. We need disciplinary knowledge, there is no doubt about that, but we need to take that further. And second, a better approach would be sharing across disciplines. And the third and very important, and our goal is productive engagement, transdisciplinarity, and commitment to change through science-based solution. That is what we actually think of STEAM education. So it's not just, it doesn't mean that, we do not mean that we actually, we don't need disciplinary approach. Discipline can be there, but discipline can be connected with the context, with the world, and with other disciplines. One discipline can complement with other discipline. So this is a high time for us to think this way. Otherwise, will be very. Our approach would be very, what I say would be, we would lag behind. Sorry about that. So this is actually this approach, this productive engagement, this transdisciplinarity, and this is called transformative. This is the direction towards transformative STEAM education. And for the conceptualization of transformative STEAM education, then we can look at this one. When we think of science, it is about inquiry. It is about looking things from a vantage, different perspectives, different approaches, different standpoints. So this is first, science as inquiry. And then second is computational thinking, that is mathematics. Similarly, in the engineering, it is like, sometimes we might think science as universal, sort of more of a knowledge level, whereas engineering is more of local solutions, more of design, and so is the case of technology, which is about design and skilling. But STEAM is not just the mechanistic combination of science, math, technology, engineering, and arts. It's the synergy. It's beyond. This STEAM is just one kind of level that allows us to think beyond the discipline, because the solutions are driven, are not just within the discipline. So if we if we are to create synergy, then we have to actually think within and beyond the discipline. So then, not just this STEAM, in order to make this STEAM education a transformatory, then we also need critical cultural consciousness. Meaning that we have these cultural conditions, we have many traditions, we have many local technologies which help us to improve our life world, our standing in terms of future. So, but again, this requires a specific approach, which is called critical cultural consciousness. So we need to actually be critical of those unhelpful practices, and we need to move with those good practices. So critical cultural consciousness is very important from that perspective. Likewise, we also look into the sustainability education, meaning that our education need to focus on preserving the planet, because the planet has been threatened because of climate change, because of many other forms of global crisis. And we need to actually educate. We need to look into these issues very seriously. There is a 5-10 seconds away from the explosion because of the nuclear competition of nuclear warfare. And also you can see the mob yesterday. You could not imagine in the United States that thing happened. That's why this critical cultural consciousness is as important as sustainability education, as important as science, as important as mathematics, as important as engineering, as important as technology. So this is the idea of transformative STEM education. For example, another example, if we look into social studies and we have a unit called family, then we can actually connect with Mendel. Probably in mathematics, we talk about pattern types and even trees that can also be applied in technology education. Similarly, arts, drawing, painting, creating prototypes and poetry of their family houses, and engineering, technology, designing family houses, apartments, etc., etc. So many of you might ask this question: why should we use the science, math, arts? Why don't we do these activities and don't give any name to the subjects? That's okay. So what we are doing, we are sort of using this pragmatics here. Pragmatism prevails here because we have these subjects in our mind. That's why we are creating activities according to the line of the disciplines. It is not necessary, because there might be more activities, more pedagogical activities than just these. But what I mean to say that we need to look the concepts and ideas beyond the disciplinary framework, one disciplinary, monodisciplinary framework. So what type of pedagogy then we look for in our STEAM education? So this is the idea here. I'm sort of bringing, first person, second person, and third person. In our educational system, I don't know, I won't generalize beyond Nepal, but in our context, we are very much used to with this third person pedagogy. That is, we have textbook authors who have written the books, and then students uh, get knowledge from that third person. Okay, this is the most available, and there is somehow second person as well, that is teacher. But the first person pedagogy has not been used. First person pedagogy is that which is based on the learner himself or herself. He or she has experienced so many things, so that part is missing. So if we look into our educational process, third person pedagogy is dominant, little bit of second person, first person is almost none. So we need to actually bring first person pedagogy. We need to have a balance of this pedagogy. And this is not just Western construct. This is in our traditions, in both Hindu and Buddhist traditions, that these first person, third person, and second person and third person pedagogy are pedagogies are very, very important. Because what has been said in traditional wisdom, that if we attend to our first person knowledge, that is the greatest knowledge. But we have actually looked other forms of knowledge rather than first person. Similarly, if we look into cognitive pedagogy, then we need to think of other forms of knowledge. The first is cognitive, which is all about our understanding. Affective is more of our feeling, realization. So we have not actually looked into the affective part, and also we do not have looked upon the performative part, which is called application and solutions. Whereas cognition is important, but affective and performative are equally important. So when we see then assessment, then what we also think from the perspective of STEAM education, that it is not fault finding, failing, and lacking feedback loops. So this is not the assessment that we aspire, because if we are to promote solutions driven education, then it has to at least has developmental, improvisational, asset based, and empowerment driven. Otherwise people would not be problem solvers. They would be blamers. They would blame everybody except for themselves. So in order to prepare our children, our students to become solutions driven, creative, critical, then we need to look into at least continuous feedback loops are there, and they can improve next time. Even the ideal form of assessment is that which allows learners to develop further, to improve their earlier task, and exercise their strength, and also they become empowered to do certain kind of activities or to certain kind of tasks. Similarly, we talk about teacher research as well. We also enable our researchers to become more of look into those foundational issues. Why this is happening? Why I'm teaching how I'm teaching? Why is this is happening? So it's not just what is happening. What is happening we know, and how is happening may be necessary, but why is it happening, so that we look for alternatives. So teacher research is also very, very important from this perspective, as far as we are to conceive transformative STEAM education. Many of us think that education prepares students for future. So what is future? Okay, so STEAM education is about future. That has been said, but we know nothing about the future. We cannot give the future to anybody, because we don't know what happens in the next 5 minutes. There is not one future, rather there are many futures. This is the perspective we hold. These all perspectives we hold. We know nothing about future. We cannot give the future, meaning that there is not the future, but there are many futures. So present is the basis for future. So such futures are, so what are we doing at present? So, future is not something that magically given. So it's one rational perspective is that, present drives us towards the future. So then we look into these 21st century skills. So what I mean to say, as far as future is concerned, then our preparation for the creation of future, not giving the future. We need to help create the future. That's the giving. That's the role of STEAM education. So when we talk about 21st century skills, then these are very important skills. That is personal and collaboration skills, communication and thinking skills, interpersonal skills, and digital and multiliteracy skills. Without these skills, actually we won't survive. Our kids won't survive. There might be many other skills. These are as important as Newton's laws of motion. These are as important as grammatical rules. These are as important as mathematical formula. So these are equally important, and our curricula and our pedagogy should give very important key importance to them as well. Some of the activities that we have been doing in some of our schools, that classroom knowledge to build kitchen garden. So they use all sorts of these activities, so they understand soil, plant, environment. They model length, area, breadth, and also design, and then make it appealing to others. Similarly, there is no community library in their world. They can be engaged in collecting data, potential members of the library. They develop inquiry skills, design a library building, and also they might write a proposal, or they are encouraged to write proposal. Likewise, social entrepreneurship. So students conduct a feasibility survey in a village, come up with some possibilities, maybe some of these, and then they actually develop a poster for the community people, or one-day workshop to discuss their findings with the group of parents that they surveyed earlier. So our approach is that there is one official curriculum, but there may be many curriculum. That's, and then for this, we need to actually restructure our schools, restructure our classrooms, restructure our pedagogy. So what I mean by this official curriculum is it is distributed. SC1, student curriculum 1, student curriculum 2, student curriculum 3, student curriculum 4, student curriculum N. So this here, the emphasis, for example, if students engage in doing this kind of project, the major focus is that they learn not just knowledge, but also skills as well. So, and then they develop certain expertise through these. Some may be common and some may be very specific to the person. So this is the goal of education these days. So this is how students are prepared as per their assets, as per their so where to go then? I mean, my popular image is whether we stay within this case or we choose these different colors, different pathways. So choice is ours. Okay. If we choose this way, the present schooling is fine, the classes are fine, we are fine, the teachers are fine, but the future might look pretty bleak. If we choose this way, we need to change ourselves. We need to change many parts of our system, if not all. The change has to reflect at home, in school, and within the classroom. So this is what I have to say about STEAM education as and for transformation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bansar, for very much insightful concept, ideas, and how we could able to transform our education system, and how STEAM is envisioning aligning with this issue that you have raised with some possibilities. So this will be very much helpful for all the participants. So I do hope they will think of themselves as a change agent in this scenario. So with this quick remarks, I request the participants to post your question in the chat box. Till yet, there were no any questions. So if you want to ask questions, so please ask the question for a while. So we'll wait for a while. If not, we may wrap up for today.
Or you might send emails, you might be connected with Niroji and myself, Benoji. So this team, you might send the comments. So thank you once again. If you don't have any comments, so, we would like to close TRS trainings in schools. Okay. What is the full form of TRS, Mohan sir? You asked this question, TRS. I couldn't get it. We conduct training definitely. We have a team. We have a big team, not just us, but we have students. We have 1-year MAD students. We have MPhil students, and they also conduct training. Okay, teachers. Okay, teachers. Thank you. So we do that. I mean, we have many of our 1-year MAD students. They conduct training, and I'm very, very sure that they represent the quality of Kathmandu University. The STEAM is related to our old Gurukul system, sir. I think what we need to do here is that it brings both old and new approaches. It is not the resurrection of our old Gurukul, nor it is the replacement of what our good practices. It's a combination. It's a synthesis of old, new, and yet to come. So this is what I have to say at this stage. Not just Gurukul, there might be like madrasa. There might be good practices. In Gompa education, there might be many good practices as well. So many other cultural traditions. Even there might be traditions which are not recognized as school or education, but yet they are very powerful, very helpful traditions. For example, the community learning in Tharu community, in Kirat community, and also in many other Nepali and other households, like how we learn the better, good practices can become connected with this idea. Yes, yeah, it is a blend of traditional and contemporary approach. Yes, it is both. So because the 21st, when we look into 21st century skills, it is not the replacement of old kind of ideas. Look into our history as human being. So we have also struggled to understand ourselves as human. We learn from we learn to communicate, and I think that's coming back again. And we needed to be productive. So that is coming back again as 21st century skills. So here, 21st century is not really replacing what happened in the past. It's bringing some of these ideas back as well. So, yeah, thank you very much. Artificial Krishna Prasad Bhattaji, thank you very much. Yes, there is one particular area that is called technology-driven STEAM or even IE-STEAM. Yes, artificial intelligence has been one of the areas, and people are working for innovative solutions. Yes,
ट्रेनिङ भइरहेछ
so from that perspective, yes, artificial. But there are some ethical issues associated with artificial intelligence. And that can be another topic someday. It's not my area of expertise. I can invite somebody, and someday we might initiate a discussion along this line. How artificial intelligence can be ethically challenging for future of humanity. I think pre-primary is already STEAM. If we look into our requirements for pre-primary education, or if we call it early childhood education, it's already STEAM. It has to connect with different disciplines. Otherwise, there would be there would not be engagement in engaged learning. So in order to promote engaged learning, connection has to be established with the learner, with the context, with the materials, and with different so-called knowledge systems. And these knowledge systems are represented by the different disciplines. Story teaching, I think, we need to look into for example, what are the elements of story? Let me just, just deal with this question. When we have, story has a particular pattern. It has a plot, it has characters, it has a central theme, it has, beginning, middle, and end. So if we change the plot, then the pattern changes. So that can connect with something with this somewhat in terms of, you can connect with mathematics from that perspective. But it is not necessary to connect with mathematics, with science, but try to see from a bigger picture. What is the content in the story? That can also be connected with other subject matters as well. For example, if the story, if it is a biography, it is a biography of a scientist, then it has a different content. If it's a story, a folk tale, then it is different content. So it's not just teaching a story. I think what 21st century skills or what STEAM education purports here is this. What is the design of anything? For example, if we're talking about a story, what are the elements there? If we change the story, if we change these elements, how the story looks like. So in this way, students become designers, creators. So this is the approach. Rajan साहबको सरले सोध्नुभयो, थ्याङ्क यू भेरी मच फर दिस क्वेसन. मन्त्रीलाई सोध्नुपर्छ यो चाहिँ. कसरी अगाडि जाने होला भन्ने कुराको आन्सर त आई डोन्ट. हामी यही गरिरहेका छौँ. आई क्यान सी विद्या सर देयर. विद्या सर इज अल्सो डुइङ द्याट, हैन, भलुन्टरीली चाहिँ नि सपोर्ट गरिरहनु भएको छ टिचरहरूलाई. राजेन्द्रजी इज देयर, इज अल्सो डुइङ many workshops, and we are also doing a little bit. We won't say we are doing many, but this is how we are doing. So we also conducted training previously on integrated curriculum and also we also conducted workshops on STEAM education. So this is how we are doing. Rest of the things I think the government should government ले हेर्छ होला भन्ने लाग्छ. The easiest answer, right? Government should be responsible भन्ने चाहिँ easiest answer हो. त्यति नै भन्ने मैले अहिले यो बारेमा. Very, very effective initiative because teachers are very good. I don't think not just ECD. For example, in our master's program, MPhil program, we even in PhD program, kina ECD one. Even in PhD, they have to connect with their, thinking what is going on in the literature. So the connection is very, very important, and how that connection is productive is attributive to the nature of STEAM we are promoting. It's loose connection, it's a strong connection. So long as there is strong connection, then students can be creative, can be productive, they understand, or even if they cannot understand, they do something in a more creative way. If they are in the part of that process. So I think STEAM is not just mechanical combination. It's a productive, it's synergistic combination. Even if you combine social studies with mathematics, social studies with language, social studies with other concepts, not just social studies concepts, but concepts other than social studies, then probably, then the synergy starts to begin. So if we are school teachers, if we are school principals, what we can do, we can actually connect, start, the initial stage would be a teacher collaboration. So two subject teachers, at least they create some kind of joint lessons, the lesson plans, or joint materials, or activities that can be done jointly. Not all subjects, maybe 2 or 3 subjects, or maybe 2 or 3 topics. So then they develop confidence in those areas, and that can go in full swing in maybe in 3 or 4 years if they continue to practice. And it's also very, very important for us to connect with the learner as well. It's not just the subject, it's the learner. As I said earlier, the first person pedagogy is very, very important, because that first person is not just autobiographical knowledge, that's cultural knowledge. That can also give rise to scientific knowledge or other forms of knowledge, because they might have other experience than what we have thought. So our current pedagogy, like this third person pedagogy, a little bit supplemented by second person pedagogy, has, in many parts of Nepal, for example, we have textbook surveys. If we use this first person and second person pedagogy to the extent that we create knowledge based on first person and second person resources, we might solve the problem of textbook shortage as well. So this textbook shortage is because of our over-reliance on third person pedagogy. So thank you once again. Thank you very much. This is what I have to say. Thank you.
Everyone, thank you for your time, and we do hope this 3 days webinar help you to conceptualize STEAM education, aligning with its pedagogical processes and some thought. This is just the beginning. I hope you will create a further scenario to use this concept in your personal and professional life. So with this note, I want to stop here, and within a week we may begin the second round of this type of sharing with our students, maybe from the MIT in STEM education, MPhil in STEM education, and some of us, I'm also doing PhD in STEM education, so I'll be also sharing some of my concept with my experiences aligning with the STEM education. Thank you so much for once again, thank you so much for all of you for your time and your contribution to make this program happen. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.